Which gun should I buy? Which gun should I buy? But let's back that up a bit. Let's back it up a bit. Back it up a bit. And use some criteria versus emotion. I have a whole series on Patreon, the AR ARC series. AR/ARCK, build yourself an arc. I started my sons off with America's rifles and 22 kits once they were big enough to wield them. They're single shot 22s before then, but why is that important? Because the system can grow with someone to adulthood, and I raised riflemen. In many ways, that has been measured too. And so this is not an opinion. This is just what we've done that works. And what's my experience? Well, I was a former weapons sergeant and a sniper and an armorer. So that's just some of my resume to give you an idea of the angle of intersection that I'm coming from. I'm also not selling anything that's on the table. None of it. None of it. And anything made by man can and will break and fail. Remember that. And I've serviced thousands of America's rifle, the AR-15. There's some considerations, and I know when people are new to guns, it's like, hey, I'm used to shotguns or hunting rifles or pistols, but not a semi-automatic self-loading rifle such as America's rifle. What do I get? Well, that can be pretty hard to navigate, especially nowadays, because there's so many choices and so many people pushing their choices on you because they want people on team budget versus team reality. Team reality is where I like to dwell, not in fantasy, not I'm so much cooler online. What have I seen actually work and what doesn't work? Some people will emote off of the expense of a brand name because they haven't used any just weight and measure to see, have solidified, established experience, what actually works. It's just opinions. And most of the booba tubes is commercials about commercials. Right? Remember, I'm not selling any of the things you see, not even the markers, none of it, not even my training. What? Yeah, I have a filtering process because I get to choose who I teach. I'm at that position of strength in life. I get to choose who I teach. Oh, that changes the math. Imagine if whatever your field is, if you could choose your customers. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't you do it if you could? Right? Exactly. So I only want to be around brothers who want to operate in excellence in relationship. I'm done training the enemy. I was told where to go and who to train most of my adult life by Uncle Sugar. And so what I noticed from being all over the world and seeing different versions of what I call Fox, which are fake Glocks, as well as M forgeries, that means it's a copy of an M4. There's certain criteria that stands out, and it's a process to wade through all the advertising, right? It's a process. Some people will emote over Geisley or Daniel Defense or Colt or FN or Sons of Liberty Gunworks or BCM. What do those companies have in common? Oh, do they have a military contract? Do they have a military contract? That becomes one of the criteria that I ask. Why? Because I don't want to be the R&D, man. Being the research and development for any one or any organization is extremely, extremely expensive. Ask me how I know. So a good rule of thumb is, before I consider a system wrung out, that means even if I change the sling swivel, I put 1,000 rounds through it. And I learned this from guys who know more than me, armors for guys across the fence. I'm like, okay, sounds like a good idea, because if one screw's loose, guess what? You're off kilter. So let's use a system versus emotion in order to make our decision. The system I came up with which was MUMS. Manufacture, use, maintenance, sustainable systems. Well, in America, I would say America's rifle in this current age is the premier, just like the Glock is. Wow! Don't emote over the choice. There's no doubt that the logistical support, the manufacturer, there's so many that are making copies of these successful systems. There's real reasons why militaries such as Israel switched away from the THWSF back to America's rifle. One of those things is rail space. Rail space for enablers, such as some of the technology towards drones, thermals, flashlights, lasers, illuminators, etc. You need the rail space. Okay. And so the shorter the gun, the more cramped you are. Where's it manufactured at? And why is it manufactured? That's a big question. The other question is, what's the idea? What's your idea that you need one of these? I don't know. I can tell you from a homesteading perspective, homesteading, right, is different than a soldier perspective. Even though my choices were very, very similar, because remember, I'm a former sniper. And so I chose to have a variable power optic on my primary gun multiple times in harm's way because it helped me amplify my skill set. It also helped me do my primary job, which is to forward information, not necessarily shooting. So if I can see better, right, I have a better idea what's going on. That's part of the thing. It's called observation. And so the optic, which is a whole nother discussion on which choice to go through, what's the idea that you need it? Well, okay, let's go with the idea of a truck gun. The truck gun. Everyone loves to do videos on it. What's my truck gun? Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll tell you what 99% of the booba tubers totally miss. They totally miss it. OT, operating temperature. What? Yeah, what's the operating temperature for your truck gun? Is it below 50 degrees? Huh? Or is it above 160? Boy, it's never that hot. Really? Inside your vehicle? If you live down south or any place where it gets 100 degrees, in like half an hour, the temperature can soar up to 130. In an hour, it can be over 160 degrees inside the vehicle. What that means is that everything, the whole system, your ammunition, the little screws, everything is subjected to extreme temperature swings. Now, what happens up here in the north with metal roofs that aren't seamless, or yeah, I think it's called seamless, or I'm not a roofer, where they put the roofing over the screws, because of this temperature swing, have this idea and thing that happens. It's called they back out. They back out because of thermal expansion and contraction. Well, the same thing's happening inside your chamber. That's why I don't recommend, even if it is legal, is to keep a truck gun with a round in the chamber, because this is brass or steel, heaven forbid, inside a steel chamber. And you have dissimilar metals expanding and contracting at a different rate, which can cause a stuck case. Oh, it can cause a stuck case. What's your operating temperature? Because a lot of stuff that works great in this middle ground, you know, most people, I call their 90%, is 70 degrees in an indoor range. Indoors, inside, or under a covering, not in the wet, not in the cold, not in the heat, not in the dust, not in the wet. Get Kit Wet is a whole series I have because I was on MAROPS teams for a big portion of my career. And we learned real quick, fast, and in a hurry, patrolling in the swamps or in the oceans, that the wet affects systems differently. There's a reason why in the military, most of the barrels you will find will be chrome lined or some sort of stainless that is treated, even for very accurate guns. Why? Because of the environment, because of the 90% extremes. The 90% extremes, as well as altitude, going up to pressure in an aircraft, going down, going up on the mountain, going down in the valley, being in the swamps, the valleys, etc. Now, for most of you, you don't travel as much as a military person. So you can get away with something that's in a 90% environment of a gun safe that's controlled into a gun case inside a vehicle, drove into the range with the AC or the heater on in a heated indoor range, and then you shoot. You never test this, the extreme. You never test the extreme. That's the issue. Who tests the extreme? Well, there's two places, well, actually three, but two in particular that you can really find out what's durable in the extreme. Any guesses? The Army or the military, and hunting in America. That's it. Those are the two big extremes. Because generally speaking, many hunting seasons are what? In the inclement weather time, the fall. The military, Joe, like if I said this in many videos, if you want to test something, give it to a private, give it to Joe and tell him not to break it. That's how you really test something, because a private doesn't understand the word no or don't. Ask me how I know. I was a sergeant, right? And so can it hold up to this? Because if it can hold up to these two, there's a good chance that that system will hold up for our use, whatever your use is. Even if it is still apartment complex, gun safe to the, gun case to the range, if it's beyond it, that means it'll be excellent. And that's what we want. The other thing, and so we've got the temperature extreme, right? That's huge. And most people won't test stuff. They won't freeze it. They won't get it wet. They won't take it outside. It becomes a safe queen, etc. The other, there's two requirements along that line. So we talked about the reliability, right? The next one is the accuracy. Reliability and accuracy. And what you will find, and this is why I didn't mention the competition circuit, is oftentimes to get an edge, the system in the competition, right? Let's make this, this is competition. And this is life on the farm. Tractors, etc. Right? Or pick your military hunting context. In competition, oftentimes the needle is moved away from reliability towards accuracy. As tolerances get tighter, right, we lose some reliability. There's a big difference between the tolerances of an AK and America's rifle. There just is. Both have their intended use, right? And some, right, will go towards reliability versus accuracy. Well, I will give you a very simple standard. This separates the forgeries from the real deal. You ready? Go green. Will it operate? We got the temperature in -50 to 150 degrees, right? That's one. What's the next one? Will it hold 10 inches at 300 meters? That's my question. 10 for 10, all day long. 10 for 10. That's my accuracy requirement. Whether it be hunting or whether it be martial use, minimum. And what you'll find is a lot of fake A's, like fake AKs in America, won't come close to that. Many AKs will hold that, real ones, with the right type of ammunition. Most America's rifles, with good quality ammunition, Oh, what's that? That's 77 grain tip match king. Or Alpha 19 or 3, right? 55 grain full metal jacket will hold a 10-inch group at 300 meters. Otherwise, I consider it an M forgery. We don't want those. It's fake. It'll break. It's not up to the standard. Right? Isn't only accurate rifles interesting? Well, in our context, every bullet has a lawyer attached to it, right? Yeah, so we need to make sure we can hit what we want to. And especially if you're new to the system, you don't want the system putting limitations on your ability to do what I call this, which is hold. Hold on to that which is true, which is fast. Like hold on to it, grasp the truth, right? Accuracy. Hold on to good quality relationships and good quality people. Why would you ever let go? Right? Now, if you hold too tight, right, what happens? Starts to shake. You just have to hold. Just to hold, right? Can you hold that accuracy standard? Well, if your ammunition or your system isn't up to the snuff, then who do you know? How do you know mathematically if it's you or if it's the gun? We want to take out all the variables. It's careful consistency equals capability and capacity. It's careful consistency equals capability and capacity. And when you're building, like think of it like a foundation. We're building a house. We want a solid foundation. So a solid foundation is a funny looking apple. All right. Apple seed. Because they will teach you how to use America's rifle with a basic sling, right? A basic sling, not something very expensive. A basic sling, such as this, which costs like $10 at the civilian marksmanship program. And then you can get the basics down. But if you start with garbage, chances are you're going to have garbage results, and we don't want that. I want what's best for you, and I think our country's better if we have a bunch of riflemen in it. So 10 inches at 300 meters. If it won't do that, if the system, the entirety of the system, the ammunition, the shooter, which is a big part of it, the weapon itself is incapable of that level of accuracy in America's rifle, I don't want it. It goes down the road. And so when you buy a new system and you go through the AR ARC series that I have on Patreon, you go through the process, and if it doesn't meet the cut, you save the box and you send it back to the manufacturer. Yeah. Before you spend 1,000 rounds downrange. What? Yeah, because ammunition was at 45 cents a shot for good stuff now. It's only going to get more expensive. The system is training you, and you don't want to have the equipment preventing you, right? Because new shooters oftentimes go straight to, if I could only have this. Well, buy once, cry once. What's the operating temperature? Well, if it's going to be a truck gun, right? What's the accuracy? Why that distance? Well, what if you see a coyote at 300 meters that likes to eat your sheep? Right? What's the actual use? How big's a coyote? What's the kill zone on a ungulate? All right. 10 inches gives you a lot of capability capacity at 300 meters. And 3 city blocks, which is a little bit shorter than 300 meters generally, gets you off the X, whatever that X is. And so this is survival applications, weapons systems. Remember, we're not selling anything, not even our own training, because this year we're not doing that much, only private invite only. Why? 5 whys deep, my friends. 5 whys deep. So make good choices. Listen to people with solidified, established experience that have the experience, the certifications, and the professions to point you in the right direction. But if you're not going to use the system, then it's just opinion. And you're going to find a never-ending bit of that, and you'll be chasing your ballistic tail online listen to the negative influencers because budget's their brand and they get a cutback for not saying anything bad about something that doesn't actually work. I'm not attached to it. I really do not have any idea how many America's rifles I've had my hands on. Thousands. I've fixed so many. I've seen so many break. I've seen so many do well, right? So it's not a brand thing. It's model number by model number, but you have to define your idea first. What's the idea that you need one? Okay, then we can start to tailor our choices. Educated, not emotionally triggered. Maybe. We'll see you soon. Check out the links if you want to know more, because free is poo. Shalom.